Amy isn't an egg anymore. Amy cracked that egg.
That's the first thing you said that started the podcast.
We were like, Amy's a good egg. And I was like, Amy not egg no more.
Hi, everyone. If you expected a professional style podcast,
I'm sorry.
You're at the wrong place. Hi, everyone. My name's El Odyssey or Athena. For those who haven't seen it before, when we do our podcast, it kind of just occasionally topics pop up. Usually it's about RP or stuff around that regard, and this one still is. However, it's outside of TTRPG this time. This is a topic that someone had just chat about TTRPGs, and I thought you guys would enjoy it if we did it. Oh my God, what is? Oh God, it's so loud. The game is so loud. Let me turn that down. Anyways, so yeah, this is gonna be a podcast about tabletop RPGs and adjacent sort of formats. We're gonna be talking about a couple different things in here and our experience with it. So like I said, my name's El Odyssey or Athena. In terms of specifically TTRPG experience, I have played D&D for way too long. I have run 3 different campaigns now. Is that right? Yeah, I think I'm at 3 now. I've been a player in a few different ones. First ever Dungeons and Dragons I played was 3.5. And that was when I was young. I've also done Kindle Obscura. What else have I done? I've done Everyone is John, which is a fun one. Yeah, so my experience is very much the traditional Dungeons and Dragons. But yeah, so I want to go down the list here. So Doozy, introduce yourself and your TTRPG experience.
My name is Delilah, aka Doozy. I am the person who is talking right now. My pronouns are she and her. And my experience with tabletops is, at this point, over 10 years. First ever was a real-life Pathfinder game that didn't really go very far. I have experience with D&D 5e, Pathfinder 1 and 2, Shadowrun, a whole bunch of other random stuff along the way. And in fact, I have my Pathfinder 2 game in a couple hours here.
Ori.
Hello. Okay, I am talking. Hi, my name is Ori. Oriola. I use they them pronouns. I'm here because I played. Well, I'm friends with these people. Wow, shock. And I've played Dungeons and Dragons for over half of my life now. But aka way too long, like Owl said. And I've started with Dungeons and Dragons 3.5. I technically played 4.0 and then swore off it forever. I've played obviously 5e, now D&D 1. I've also played Pathfinder, Dungeon World, a couple of offshoots that are centered around different universes. Like there was a Dragon Age TTRPG that I played. Golden Sun. That covers pretty much most of them.
Vanny.
They them pronouns. I am bringing noob realness to the table. Although I will say I'm only really a noob because I was too insecure to even get started. like one of the first tables I actually sat at as a player, the entire party like got wiped except for me. And in the first combat, like
Oh wow.
we had just sat down first combat. It was a mechanical spider. Yeah, so that was a lot of pressure for someone who was really insecure and didn't really trust themselves sitting at the table. I was sitting at a table of exclusively male individuals. And basically I just was kind of scared off. Like, I've sat in the same room as people playing D&D for a long time, but really between Al's game and then I think right after this game, I started a in-person game sitting at a table of my friends here. And I will say the right table makes a lot of difference, but also like just put yourself out there a little sooner. Like, I get being insecure, but it is fun to be nerds with friends.
And Viri is here as well. Viri didn't want to be lonely while they played the game. But I think Viri is going to be a good perspective for someone who's literally never played TTRPGs before and knows very little about them, and I think would be, a good sort of audience stand-in to ask questions if need be. But if you want to introduce yourself, Viri, go ahead. I think she is muted because she is playing a game. Okay, I think that is the current case. So Viri is she, her. I'm also she, her. Yeah. I have a collection of questions here. I think we kind of answered the first one a little bit already, which was, how did you get into TTRPGs, and what was your first? So like I said, mine first was 3.5. I had a friend in growing up who was who used to bring the book with him all the time. I don't think we ever really got to play the game itself. Maybe like 1 or 2 sessions, but I got to create a character and I really started getting really into it then. I started listening and learning about it with my dad. I still remember the iconic book cover of the 3.5 book. If anyone who has seen it for D&D, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's got gems and it just to me is very memorable in that regard. But yeah, I think we kind of talked about it. Does anyone else want to add anything about their first experiences?
So the Pathfinder game that I started, we went through a beginner module, and then it was okay, you can with pre-made characters and stuff. And then after we did that, it was okay, you can make a new character, and then we never actually played. So really, the first real big experience I have was actually Shadowrun 5e, which is a heck of a system.
Really?
Yeah. Thankfully, it was with people who know the system inside and out, and also. It was yeah, we're not going to worry about those rules because it would take us an hour and a half. But we actually...
Depp, why aren't you in this podcast then if you actively run Shadowrun? Get your ass in here. Sorry, I'm bullying Depp. Go ahead.
We actually... I joined it on a whim. It was somebody I was chatting with online, and I stumbled into their Twitter account. I was wait a minute, I recognize that avatar. And so they tweeted hey, does anyone want to join? And I was fuck it, sure. And we actually talked about it yesterday. That was 9 years ago. Of course, we're not running the same game still. But again, like the game I'm playing a couple hours here is with the same people. Like the group has grown. I'm sure there are people who no longer play with us. But almost a decade of playing tabletops with this group has been just fantastic.
That's awesome. The first D&D campaign that I ran, I remember I had a tab, like a Surface tablet, and I used to like draw the maps and stuff on there. And I don't think a lot carried over until my second campaign. Maybe there was a few things here and there in terms of the lore, but the second campaign was like the one I'm like, I'm going to create an entire universe for this. Like I wanted to, and it started small, but it is the world that I started building and that Vanny and Ori are currently playing in. And that started, dear God, like 4 years ago. But the first campaign I ran was like 7 years ago now. So like, you know, it's adapted and changed, but like when it really started taking form was the second campaign I ran, which was about 4 years ago now. But that is something I do want to say. Like, if you are trying to get into TTRPGs, never feel like you have to create an entire world. Like, that's kind of seems like, I think people who will watch Critical Role or these like online shows will think like, oh shit, I have to create an entire world for it. No, a lot of these TTRPGs have worlds that exist specifically for you to play in.
Yeah, they have adventure paths.
Exactly. And sometimes they're not the greatest, but that is something that I love about TTRPGs as well, is a lot of people will publish content and worlds and stuff like that, specifically for you know, to for you to play in and better versions of, you know, what may otherwise be not so fun. So, I highly recommend it. Don't feel like you have to. I just realized this isn't an instrumental playlist. God fucking damn it! I wanted Baldur's Gate music. God damn it!
Of course, always easier to be a player, especially with a GM.
Mm-hmm.
But I personally have never DM'd. I've been a player in many games where it was the first time the GM had GM'd, and it goes well. As long as you're not a fucking dickhead, it's fine.
Yeah, you want to. We'll get into something like that in a little bit. Something I think I want to talk about, but I want to everyone to talk about their. Oh, Depp, introduce yourself, pronouns, and your experience with TTRPGs.
Okay. Either. What? Sorry.
We didn't hear the first bit of what you said.
Hi, my name's Depp. My voice will improve as we do this. I have played D&D 5th edition as a player. I've done Starfinder as a DM, and I've done pretty much everything else in Shadowrun 6th World, which is, don't question it. It's one of the harder ones to find because it's also one of the least liked ones. Should I give context on what Shadowrun is?
Not yet. We'll get in that. That's what this next question is about. So this next question is about, I want to know, I want you guys to talk about like what your favorite systems are and what makes a good system. I want to give a little bit of stats here. On Roll20, this was information back in 2021. Now, we don't know if this is up to date, but this was height of pandemic. You know, this is going to be really when a lot of people are going to be online and playing TTRPGs online. D&D 5th edition, which is now 1. It's weird how it's like FE/1, whatever. D&D 5th edition is at 52% of the campaigns. They had 14% were uncategorized. That's not useful. Call of Cthulhu is next at 10%. Pathfinder at 3.49. That's first edition. Second edition is at 1.51. And then everything else is 1 or below. Warhammer, World of Darkness, D&D 3.5, Apocalypse, and Star Wars. Which I think is interesting. How much of a dominance that D&D has in the TTRPG market. But I want to hear you guys like talk about your favorite systems and what makes a good TTRPG for your mind.
If I could take over, my favorite to play is the Pathfinder systems.
Hell yeah.
5e is /D&D 1 is good, especially for new players. But I like that Pathfinder is since I started with 3.5, I find it to be simpler than where I started, but it's more
Pathfinder
complicated.
was an offshoot of 3.5, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Pathfinder was after 3.5.
Yeah, it was an offshoot of it.
Yep, that was where it originally started. It has a lot more customization than 5e or D&D 1 has right now. Part of that is because they've cut down on the amount of additional content they're creating, from what I can tell. But there's just so much that you can do with Pathfinder, even though it's been simplified, or it feels simplified compared to 3.5.
Anyone else want to jump in and talk about their favorite systems?
My current favorite system is definitely Pathfinder 2. I'm going to say something very rude is that we have evolved past the need for D&D. Just play Pathfinder. And that's for multiple reasons that I don't know if we have time to get into. However, there's so many different things for different kinds of games that it's really hard to like say, oh, what makes a good system. I know a lot of people who get like really deep into it all, like say a bunch of friends in my Pathfinder group are over D20 systems. They just like, well, I don't like having they don't like having a D20. They don't like the like crit misses and stuff. Which there's plenty of games that do otherwise. I remember in Shadowrun, one of the memes for Shadowrun is rolling an ungodly amount of D6s. Mm-hmm. And in my first game, by the end of it, when somebody shot me, I could roll up to 43 die to resist being shot. Mm-hmm. So that was fun. But yeah, I'm really excited for the Starfinder 2 core book coming out. Because I absolutely fell in love with Starfinder, but it felt like a half step.
Yeah.
And I was so happy to see that half step taken to a full step in Pathfinder 2. So like the moment I was reading Pathfinder 2, I'm like, I really hope they make a Starfinder 2 because yes. And the Starfinder 2 core is coming out like next week. I'm very excited for that.
To add some context to Shadowrun, Shadowrun is gritty. It is a pain in the ass to run. but in a good way at times. Like Doozy said, it's a D6 system, so rolling rolling your dice gets a little goofy, a little silly, and that can be thanks to Edge, which is my all-time favorite system. So Edge, you gain Edge points through certain actions, and I want to say it's like inspiration, but it's not. You gain it rapidly, and you have to spend it rapidly. So your character has a max amount of Edge you can generate. If you generate past that, nothing happens. If you generate below that, or like if you spend everything, nothing happens. So it's a your character like just has a limit. It's not a like a health bar or mana bar or anything like that. And it allows you to do some goofy stuff. Like straight up just denying a hit that a enemy would get on you through, and I quote, toughing it out, to aiming better. Like you like supersonic your eyes and aim better, to telling the enemy, no, you don't get to attack this round, and just denying their entire engagement. However, the enemy can do this to you in return.
I'm so used to D&D at this point, and it holds a dominance, I think, because of marketing and popularity, but it is also, like you said, an easier system to get into, especially compared to its former, editions and whatnot. I do personally really enjoy when a system is versatile in the way that, like, you could run it in a fantasy realm, you could run it in a like a sci-fi realm. I really like that when that ability, because it allows you to tell so many different stories with the same system. I think that's kind of what Darrington Press was trying to do with the Illuminated World system, which is, they've only released Candela Obscura for it, but I think their intent is to release like different like settings based on the same system, but I'll be interested to see how they do that. Daggerheart's really interesting from what I've seen with it. It is definitely more simplistic and more RP based, which I personally enjoy more RP based stuff or mechanics based stuff.
Have you ever heard of Powered by the Apocalypse?
I have, actually, yeah. Yeah, I don't know much about, but I have heard about it.
Will there be a time to like talk about one shots, or like would now be a good time to talk about those? Because you're asking about like favorite systems.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay. So basically, like, I guess, I think because I still struggle with like long-term character development and stuff like that, like still being really new, like one shots have been probably where I've had the most fun, because everything happens really quickly, and you don't have to get super deep into a character's background. You just start playing. And so, I've played like Candela Obscura. I've gotten to dabble with some Call of Cthulhu, even like a really random, I think it was mostly D6 driven as well. Really random one called Goblin with a Fat Ass, where basically it's a heist caper and you're just goblins with fat asses. Basically, like, you like having a bigger ass like lets you roll more dice, but it also, more dice means you have more chance of success, but you also have more chance of failure. And it is just a really funny, like, the rules is like a 2-page sheet.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds like a 1-page.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, but it's hilarious.
But they can be, those
and-
can be great for
Yeah.
introducing people, I think, like you said, Vanny.
Absolutely.
And making people feel more comfortable. I would love to try, on the flip side of that, I would love to try World of Darkness sometimes, which is like Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf, something. I would love to try that because I love that sort of dark, gritty stuff. I think that would be really interesting to try. But it is interesting that D&D has such a market share, I guess would be the word for it, in terms of TTRPGs. However, rumors lately have said that Wizards of the Coast aren't planning to release anything for it in the future. There's no planned releases right now, other than like what's currently been like, there's like 2 books, I think, which is interesting. I think what's happening, and we'll get down. Actually, we'll wait to talk about this, but it is interesting how this now gives other systems a chance to flourish. And I'm really interested to see how Daggerheart does. Obviously, they have the popular backing, but it'll be interesting. And there is something about Daggerheart that I will get into in a little bit. I want to move on. When you all choose your character type or your class or your role, whatever word it is for that system, do you choose sort of your character fantasy, or do you typically choose what others are playing as a player? I'm curious to hear people's thoughts.
I usually end up picking to fill spots in the team. I'm usually and I usually end up being like the last one in the game to actually make my character. That's because my brain is like that.
Ori?
I like being able to create characters to I like going into character creation with an idea of a character I want to build, but I'm also knowing that I have experience playing different types of characters. I'm also very willing to, if I feel like there is a absolute need for a type of character, I'll either try and find a way to make my character to make the character I want to play fit that, or I'll switch up the type of character I'm playing.
For me, I think it's like, if I'm going to one shot, I'm going to just fill. But if it's going to be like a longer campaign, I'm just going to play what I want. And there's something to be said as like someone who mainly dungeon masters, game masters, whatever you want to call it, in that I'd rather my players play whatever the fuck they want. I will figure it out to make it more balanced. I'm not the kind of person who dungeon masters and says like, you know, I'm going to try to beat you, or I'm going to try. It's not like me versus you, right? I'm the sort of person who's like, I want to collaborate. I want to, you know, make a story for you guys to enjoy. And I think I'll touch on that in the next topic, but like, I very much think like I always encourage people to play what they want, and then I'll try to work and make sure you're having a good time.
It's the forever DM of Shadowrun.
I'm a forever DM, unfortunately.
It's so real. I kind of did it to one person on accident, and then this quickly grew to all the players. I didn't tell them who was who or what was happening. I left them all in the dark so that when they made a character, it wasn't something to fill a spot. It was something they wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
So did I end up having 2 kind of muscly guys and no real support? Yeah, but I just made sure that they had more access to medical than you would normally have, because they would need that.
For sure, and that's sort of the mentality I try to have going into it. I think, and this transitions into the sort of the next topic I was going to mention, which is about like bad TTRPG experiences. I have been a player in 2 different games. One of which was very much us versus the DM. And I kind of... I'm someone who's just going to do rule of cool over rule as written, right? I'm going to be someone who is going to allow you to do something wild if it makes fun. You know, I'm like here to have fun. I'm here to tell stories with you. And I never really enjoyed that sort of us versus them, like the DM is trying to kill us sort of thing, because then it starts feeling like you have to sort of go cheesy versus like what your character would do. A game that I played at university that I was invited to, literally on the first session, the DM got so mad at me because I did something that my character would have done. Basically, my character had been a prisoner before, and or along those lines of like, she very much did not want to be in custody of someone, right? And the session started with these guards trying to arrest them, right? For literally no reason, like just talking to them or whatever. Like the story didn't make sense. So my character, who was a druid, was like, fuck this, and then just cast heat metal, right, to just like try to get these guards off of her. But the DM pulled me to the side after and was like, you know, I had a story I was trying to tell with that, and you kind of ruined it by doing this. And I just hate that.
If I had a nickel for every time my story was ruined by my players, I'd have a lot of nickels.
And that's part of being a GM is
Yep.
like and there's a difference, because I've heard it's just what my character would do to excuse being a shit, but
Yeah.
that's different. That's the GM not being flexible.
Yeah, I am very much someone who's like, if this is the way they want to take the story, let's fucking do it. Like, I'll give a little insight. Like, when I was writing for our D&D campaign, now Vanny and Ori won't know about these guys, but there is a group called the Silver Sword within my D&D world who are monster hunters, and I initially wrote them as sort of having a conflict with the various groups that our group was allying with, or our party was allying with. And I didn't really know if the party was going to ally, who they were going to ally with, whatever. But I initially wrote the Silver Sword as sort of these, like, necessary allies. But the party really took poorly to them and, like, really didn't like these people who were threatening so much that they were working for, and decided that they were going to be aggressive towards them. And that made a really cool story of like the party standing up for what the definition of being a monster is, and like how we are more often than not going to be labeling people who are just trying to live their lives as monsters, which was really cool. So like the players create these cool stories by just beating your expectations, and that's fun.
This topic was about bad experiences, right?
Yeah, and I turned it into I didn't
I
mean to. My apologies.
No. I like hearing stories about what people have done and how you deal with it. To throw it back to a bad experience, I had a player. So Shadowrun has a combat system.
Sure does.
Doozy will understand that comment. However, it does have a really cool RP system. I will stand by that statement. I think it's really cool. Because a lot of stuff in the book really wants you to talk, really wants you to RP things out, wants you to make connections. There is even a tab on your character sheet called Connections, and it is how well a character knows you and all that. Well, I had a player that with every turn would want to start combat every turn. I had a bunch of thugs like stop the group, like ref up their car, right, trying to just get extra money because they were protecting. I think it was a bridge or something, right? It was like a bridge to like a shipping depot, right? Because there was like a group hiding there, and they were just tasked with protecting it. Well, his first thing wasn't, "Hey man, let's calm down. We have plenty of money between all the characters," or "We have plenty of like instead of trying to talk him down, he just constantly talked the characters up, or talked the group like up, and just kept like making them madder and madder. Well, there was like 8 of them, like, right? Like, when everyone else is trying to defuse the situation and you're the only one like just lighting the fuse again, like, kind of catch that hint. There was a fight ring designed specifically for trolls, and one of the characters was trolls, right? So it was a cool like character arc. It was meant to. I talked to the the player for the character. I was like, I want to make this like cool thing that like really shows your character off, right? Like, kind of helps you get more confident in your character, because they had been having some I don't want to say they were just kind of nervous to really play their character, and I wanted them to like have that spotlight, have that moment. So it was like a fight ring, right? There was like a pit that was like pretty deep, just to kind of discourage cheating. It had a bunch of things with it. Said player from previous interaction jumped into the pit and proceeded to lose both legs and pretty much all function, because Shadowrun's not a forgiving game.
I was gonna say, it sounds like a good way of getting the shit beaten out of you by a troll.
Yeah, his character was going, like, if it wasn't for the fact that another player rules lawyered it worse for him, he would have died in that pit. His character would have died. That troll was like an intentional roadblock, because like it was just supposed to be a roadblock. He would have died. He would not have beat that troll. It was like an 8 across the board. His highest stat was a 6. Proceeded also not to ever give me his character sheet after asking several times. I'm pretty sure he lost it. It's like, I would have cared more if he was any more useful in combat. I'm gonna be blunt about it, right? If he did anything in combat, I would have been blunt and been like, "No, I need your character sheet." No, he didn't really do anything.
So he wanted to fight, but never did anything in combat.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh, that's a headache.
Now, I always try and go, it's like, well, there are ways that you could place a character like that, and it'd be good, but clearly they were doing it bad. Because like somebody who talks big but immediately like panics, and like as soon as talking big starts to look like it's actually going to end up in fighting, immediately flips. Like that can be a good character. But
for reference, I had a character like that. His name was Jim. I don't know. We kind of made the joke that everyone would kind of forget his face and name, because that's one of the karma points.
Yeah, I was going to say
you're non-rememberable.
That is a perk in Shadowrun.
Yeah, and I quite literally cannot remember because I kept changing it myself on purpose. But he was a ex-corpo like weapons tester, and he would do his absolute best to just talk everything out. But when it came down to it, yes, he had like the firepower and the knowledge to back it up, but he would have panic attacks if he thought someone was mortally damaged. So he would do his best to, if he needed to talk himself up, him and the group up. But if something like was to kill someone, he would like actually have panic attacks. It would actually it would ruin his character.
Oh shoot!
And that is the.
You just realized we could see you play.
I was
Like-
I was redoing my map. Oh my god, I'm such an idiot. Hi, sorry guys. I was currently working on my map and
The addiction runs deep.
the addiction is really deep. My apologies. There we go. It's all right.
All right.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'll stop yapping about.
No, go ahead. Sorry. I fuck me. All right. My I'm blushing now. Okay. Yeah, my ADHD was like, I need to work on something, and I wanted to redo the map from yesterday's.
Listen, I am playing RuneScape and talking, so
I'm playing cast and catch.
I'm doing that, Chuck.
Nice. Anyways, so did you have anything else you wanted to add, Depp?
No, it's just one of those things that, like, I feel like everyone's worried about, like, being. How do I want to word this?
being the main character.
Yeah, but that I was gonna be like nice about it, being encouraging in it. But yeah, like, play your character how you want to play it, right? Like, but also you got to commit to the bit at least, man.
I think sometimes, like, as a newer player or like a chronically insecure player, I guess I will say, like, I think sometimes, like, my worst experiences have been like, I sat down, like, I've dabbled with like Vampire the Masquerade before, so like werewolf systems, and I've dabbled in 2 different games. One of the first games, no, the second game, was at a table of people that I knew relatively well, like a coworker's husband was running the game. And like, I'm still new to this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I also haven't been like helped or guided in like, hey, this is kind of like how you build a character, and this is kind of how we introduce our characters. And so I guess I went into like too much detail for the table, and they were like, yeah, we don't need to know all that. And so it just like they cut me off in the middle of like trying to introduce my character. And like at this point, my role-playing experience was like, gonna date myself here, AOL chat room kind of things where you're like writing out like this whole entry description kind of thing. So I was just like, I was so insecure after that, that we didn't have that many more sessions at that table. And I think for me personally, it's like a little more guidance sometimes goes a long way for helping have more of that comfort at the table where you can express more of your character. But also, like, sometimes it's like, yo, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, just hep.
Hep. I love when my players get really deep into their character. I absolutely love when they have a background, because it gives me something to write with.
100%. Like, being able to work and like create lore around their characters. Like, the fact that I have so much lore and ideas and have spoken about stuff with my players allows me to write personal stories for them and do stuff like that for them that I otherwise wouldn't be able to. I will give Rudy a treat.
Like I was mentioned, the one character with the forgettable name, right? He was a corpo, right? He worked in corporations. Well, that gave me the entire Ares weapon branch of like one of the biggest corporations to do something with. So they got to freely visit Ares and like talk to the CEO, which, if you don't know anything about Shadowrun, pretty much
the CEO is a big deal.
not only is it a big deal, pretty much every CEO of a business is a metallic dragon. So they got to talk to one of like the dragons of the world, which is an incredible big deal because they're quite literally reality warpers. Like they just kind of exist and do what they want. And it was just fun to be able to use a dragon.
Speaking of that dragon specifically, I think one in the, like my first ever game, the Decker, the like computer person, lit up like a building sized billboard with art of the dragon making out with his human form.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at
the
there.
weird shit you can pull. It's great.
Yeah, I love Shadowrun because it's so goofy.
Yeah, you could do whatever you want. But
It's the RP is once again so crazy, like so much fun in it. Man, the combat is something.
If we want to go back to talk about bad experiences, I don't have that. I mean, there's infinite games that never started or got like one session. But if I had to pick out one specific one, it was people I didn't know and haven't spoken to since. They were just way too horny about it, and especially because like a couple of them, their characters were explicitly like lolicon, shotacon, and we're like, yeah, I'm like, I am leaving. Bye.
And this is why you should do a
Session
like,
0.
veils and
Yep, that's where I was literally the next thing I was going to bring up. Heck yeah. Predicting the future.
boundaries, please.
Yeah, so that's a really good sort of segue into
Segue.
what I think is extremely important in TTRPGs is safety tools, which is a fancy word for saying you've gone over with your players, you've talked about their boundaries, limits, triggers, etc. Which is funny because Vanny forgot I had done that for our game and was like, oh, maybe we should, because I had mentioned something, and Vanny's like, oh yeah, maybe we should do this, and I'm like,
It had been a while.
you've already done it. but that's important because that shows that like me as a DM has been avoiding topics and doing a decent job and not trying to trigger you. I suppose, I hope, to the point that you forgot about it. So like safety tools can be anything from like a form that you do at the beginning or people writing down a list. Like for our weekly D&D game, we have a pinned comment in our channel that has reds and yellows of like things we won't talk about or explore within RP.
Yeah. And I think specifically, I was just saying because it was specifically a different game where we were doing the level 20 and we were specifically like, oh yeah, this is going to get dangerous. It wasn't that. Yeah, I had forgotten that we had done it for the main campaign, but I think my brain was just like, oh, new campaign, we need new veils. So I wasn't sure if Kira had filled out a veils. Or
Oh, I thought you were talking about. Yeah, okay. But yeah, that's do you guys want to talk about that in general?
Once again, Doozy will be able to add on to this. Shadowrun is a dark game. And there is a lot that I made sure my players were all right with. For instance, this is like I don't want to say a light topic. That's not what I want. But like at the top of this was like racism, right? In Shadowrun, there is racism between metahuman types, and I put it bluntly, and this was a non-forgiving, like, if you broke this, you were done.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of like, haha, you're as simple ones like knife ears, right, for an elf, right?
Mhm.
A simple, like, little quick jab. I get it. I can see where that would be an actual RP point, or like,
dumb trog.
yeah, exactly. Like, haha, dumb trog, troglodytes, right? Like, I could see where, like, maybe throwing one in could add to a situation, especially when you're trying to enrage someone. However, if you took it past that, especially to like real life racism, you were out, gone.
Mhm.
Ditto, gone. Zippo, we were done. Your character died on the spot. Like, I was not putting up with any of it.
It's interesting because, like, it's something that we've talked about with our players is like, and it is something that I've world built as well and talked about, sort of inter and intraspecies bigotry and racism and where that stands, right, in that world, and how do we role play around it. And I think us as a group, when we talked about it in the past, I think this might have been before Ori and Vanny, but like we talked about how there's always going to be sort of that inherent fantasy racism, right? Especially when I have a player playing a tiefling. Like, that is part of the core identity of a tiefling, is they are different, unique, and ostracized. Like, and that's what draws so many minority people to play them, because of that sort of connection that, yeah. And I think it's interesting. You just have to identify, like, where is the line?
Exactly.
How do you do it tastefully?
Mm-hmm.
Representation without repression.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It is a good thing to have in a story, especially long-term stories that are more, not even necessarily gritty, but like more like you can see yourself in a character, because it is something that happens in real life, right? However, this is also an escapism, and it is for fun.
Yeah.
So you don't want that in the thing to like the same extreme, to the same levels.
Yeah, you don't want to go to the overextent of it. Like, you want to do it where it makes sense for the story. Like in our example, I mentioned the tieflings, but there's also the whole aspect of like, you've got werewolves and vampires and undead. The undead and werewolves there is a group of them who are not trying to kill you. And there's a whole other set of survivors within this world who have been running the past 6 years away from undead and werewolves and vampires, and they now are expected to work with them. So it is, I think, something we're exploring, but we're also mindful of, like, let's be intelligent about it.
Well, I think even there will be challenges in the future for Fess, who is a Corvum, considering there are Kinku in this situation.
Somewhere.
And for a non-discerning person, the difference between a Corvum and a Kinku, which is a raven and a crow,
not specifically. But it's not a raven. It's not a raven crow difference. It's
I mean, I was simplifying. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like there is a big difference between, like, Kinku are cursed.
Yes.
But if you just see a bird that is black, you are potentially just going to make a certain assumption.
100%.
Meanwhile, Fess is over here just learning your language by reading smut.
Why does it always come back to smut?
because I'm ace, okay?
You won't pop off.
I feel like that's going to be an even more interesting thing to explore once Floor
Yeah, something
is exposed.
Yeah, something happens with Floor.
Once something happens with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is like, that's where the importance of tool. If someone had come into our game and said, "Hey, I can't fucking do this," like I don't want to touch this racism stuff at all. Like, you have to work around that, or that person doesn't play. Like, that's the sort of decisions you have to make.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like an important question is, where do you cater to a player, but where does a player also have to kind of cater to you?
9 times out of 10, I'm the one changing myself up, because it's me, and I'm.
Yeah, and I don't mean that in like a bad way, but
No, I know what you
like-
mean. But what I'm saying is, like, it's a. I think it's a more nuanced question than
oh yeah, 100%.
it lets off as.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry if you can hear me crinkling bag. I'm making oatmeal.
No, couldn't hear anything. I mean,
But yeah.
Athena, I don't know if you want to go into like the whole, what was it, Grog situation or whatever his face was.
Mm.
No, I don't.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there are times where you're just not gonna be able to make things work.
Yeah.
But I do think in the end, yes, it is your story, but it makes sense that 9 times out of 10 you would be the one like fluctuating around your players, because it's the world that you have kind of set them free in, and if they don't have a certain amount of autonomy, then it's not fun.
Also, to the fact of, like,
And 100%.
it's not my story, right? Like, it
Our
is.
story, Conrad.
Yeah, but it really is all story in that, like, I am gonna, I want you guys to have a good time with it, and like,
In a weird way, I feel like a GM is a storyteller, not the story maker.
And I feel like it's more that this is the story that they are a storyteller. They're the ones providing the world. They're the ones providing the impetus to continue forward, in some respects. But it's really the players deciding exactly which direction that story unfolds.
Exactly. Also, as a background, the question was just a question. I too changed my story for to make sure that everyone is safe, comfy vibes.
100%.
Because once again, TTRPGs in any game really is escapism. It is a way for you to just turn your brain off, like just forget about the cruelties of life.
Also, from what I've heard from like DMs that I've talked to, you can always just decide that the next room was where your players were supposed to go anyway.
Yeah.
Like, nobody gets to see behind the screen. Nobody gets to see or know like how you may or may not be flailing behind the scenes of like, fuck, you've missed all the plot points.
I mean, I offhandedly mentioned a sewer one time. We spent 2 hours in a sewer. I didn't have that sewer planned at all. I don't know how we ended up in the sewer. They were supposed to talk to the police. They were supposed to get information from the police. There
Now
was
you
an
got some
active
random
police.
person in the sewer giving them that information. Yeah, like that's kind of I do want to try DMing at some point because it sounds really fun, and chaotic.
Me and Robot have the same DM style of we plan an hour before the session begins.
Yeah, and then my Alicia, my DM for my in-person game, like she's amazing in so many ways, and she just wants to have everything planned out. And so we take longer breaks sometimes between game sessions because she wants to have a certain amount planned, and we're in like one of those breaks right now because they've been doing some traveling too, so she hasn't had as much planning time. But it's just funny, like the different DM styles that I've heard of, because there are definitely people who are like, well, I've got this bag of like random things that might happen, and I know that I can pull out of this bag. And then there are other people who have like, you know, whole
Okay,
parts of the
people.
dungeon mapped out fully, and like we somehow managed to find the shortest of shortcuts.
Oh my god, Tomb of Horrors.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm thinking of.
Oops.
Like just magically we find our way there and you're like, what the fuck?
I was fine with it because
Um,
Tomb of Horrors is torture for myself. Anyways, let's move on. Let me pull up my thing here. Where'd it go? It disappeared. It disappeared. Here it is. Let's talk about like what, I mean, we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but what makes Dungeons and Dragons so popular, and why does it have such a
Critical
stranglehold? What?
Critical Role.
Yeah, but I feel like before that, it still had that same.
To add more to it, right? So in recent years, it's definitely been Critical Role, Legends of Adventurous,
Dimension
let's see.
22.
Dimension 22, there's a sock puppet one that's really funny. So there's multiple people like streaming and making content of it. Before then, I think it was almost the Christian what's the word? Christian alienation of it, where something my old man told me, and I've heard from several other people.
This is Satanic Panic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Playing D&D was seen as doing something evil when it was really just,
It's rebellion.
yeah, it was in a form, it was just rebelling, and that inherently made it popular, right? Like, it gave a way of rebellion.
But it
need to-
also makes people introspective, because to be able to play a good character, like it is, so many people talk about how it's basically therapy, because like it gives you the opportunity to explore features of your like facets of yourself. Like I've seen so many jokes of like, yeah, my table started out as like all men, and
guys.
now it's 50-50. And it's like,
And
And
there's
none of the
no
players
ladies in
changed.
roster.
Yeah.
none of the roster has changed. Yeah. So basically it's like it gives you that ability to like try different things and express yourself in different ways. And I think a lot of people, as we said, like alternative genders or sexualities and stuff like that, found comfort in being able to express or explore those parts of themselves in this game as well, and
not be yelled at.
and not be punished for it, even because
Well-
they're already doing something quote unquote
Cringe.
outside of
Ooh.
acceptance.
So that game
Yeah.
where I mentioned where I was told not to, how to like RP or whatever, and I was reading the story, etc., etc. I got kicked out of the game because I had asked another player to use she/her for me. My character, it was,
That's cringe.
yeah.
I'm going to assume this was before publicly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm not going to finish the statement, but as
No, I
like,
think
as
I actually
my,
was. I can't remember. It's so long ago at this point, but it was bullshit, whatever it was. I want to move on though. Like, what? There's like, so when it comes to TTRPGs, there's a lot of common thematic scenes that we see: fantasy, sci-fi, modern, and like occult. I think are probably the big ones. But by and far, fantasy is the probably most common you'll see.
cringe. Sorry.
By and far, fantasy is the most common you'll see, which I think is interesting to talk about in that there needs to be a question of why is that the case? Amongst...
I want to say it's almost because like sci-fi and modern, right? Modern, you're dealing with just life at that point. Sci-fi is like, this is something that's scarily approaching, but fantasy is fantasy.
I think that's a part of it, sure. There are always going to be people who prefer the idea of a sci-fi, something that looks like it could actually happen someday, versus the fantasy of which is by and large never going to happen. There's like pieces of the fantasy that could, but for the most part, it's like, for a fact that there's almost no shot any of this happens in your real life. And I think it's partly because it helps with the escapism and the enjoyment of the game for some people just getting into it. But I could never play a modern TTRPG.
I wish my roommate was here for this, because me and my roommate are quite literally the split fiction characters of I love sci-fi. I love absolutely everything sci-fi. I love space. I love for anyone that doesn't know, my favorite game is Cyberpunk 2077 and anything Cyberpunk.
I need to play it.
I'm currently playing through Shadowrunner Hong Kong on my computer. I adore cyberpunkism, and the reason why is because when medical and technology get that advanced, you can change who you are. If I was in that situation now, sure, life would kind of suck. But I also, maybe I want to have my back pain. Maybe my right leg would have feeling and function properly.
Maybe you'd have massive tits.
Maybe I'd have massive tits, and you know what? I'm kind of here for it.
Sorry.
But it's like that. You're good. No, but you're right though. Like, maybe people that are trans would.
Gender would be less of a construct as
gender
it is.
Would be cringe and gross, and you could be you. For anyone that doesn't know, when you make a character in Cyberpunk 2077, you can have whatever. That's all I'm gonna say. But you
can. That. It's like that with Baldur's Gate as well.
Baldur's Gate, yeah, exactly. You can be whatever you want to be. You can be you. And I love that.
Yeah, I think it also kind of just depends on, like, to some degree, it's like, you have your Warcraft people, you have your Starcraft people. Like, it's that idea of, like, you're always going to have someone who gravitates to one or the other. And then you have some people who are more like ambivert about it, and they're like, I like everything.
Ew, cringe.
But
I'm sorry.
Why?
But I think also it kind of depends on, I don't know. I think it kind of depends on what you have experienced. And like, if you have a really good experience with sci-fi stuff, you're probably going to gravitate more toward that. You know, if you have a really good experience with fantasy, you're probably, I mean, I was that boring person in World of Warcraft who played a human, and they're like, out of all of the races you could play, why did you pick a human? And I'm like,
When you-
I don't know. Because I like looking at a human on the screen. I don't know.
I am absolutely, unsurprisingly, the person who always picks the animal races.
Uh-huh.
My roommate said something in
Uh-huh.
a world full of different races and metahumans and all that. Being a human is the uncommon choice.
It's very true.
Which sometimes is like, maybe that's why I picked it, because I'm like, I want to be special.
Yeah, I think it. Yeah, for me, I'm the boring person who likes both. In that, like, I run a D&D game each week, and also
Nerd.
like am in the process of writing a sci-fi book. Like, I just happen to like both. Yes, Depp. You
What?
you can read it beforehand. Oh,
The book? Oh, I wasn't. I'm just chewing.
I
Sorry
thought you were
if that
making
picked up.
noises. Sorry.
No, I'm
Um,
so sorry if that was picked up. I'm just eating my oatmeal.
Oh, fine. You can't read it beforehand then.
Oh,
Yeah, fuck you.
oh, you
Fuck you,
suck.
and, fuck you and your oatmeal.
It's banana cream. Listen,
Um,
Al gets mad at me if I have an energy drink without food.
yeah,
But-
for good reason.
Yeah,
You dumb fuck.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yo, first 5 minutes, absolutely scald that energy drink.
But yeah, I do enjoy fantasy for many reasons. In that, like, I don't know. I love World of Warcraft. Like, that was always my thing, and I am, that's fun to me. But I also like TTRPGs and sci-fi stuff, and I've always wanted to try sci-fi stuff. I would love to try the Star Wars one. There's also the Marvel one that I'm kind of like, I really want to try it. I want to give
If
that
you
a
do
go.
that one, I want to join.
Yeah, but see, I'm the fucking forever DM. Like, I'm stuck. And
Nerd.
so there's like that. I also am looking at, I want to run.
Thirsty sword lesbians.
That's the one I was just about to bring up. I want to run that as well. Which has a whole bunch of different realms and scenes and whatnot. But yeah. Going
I
on
think
to
Humblewood is also really cute. Or
Humblewood
not-
is very
is that
adorable.
what it-
Yeah.
like, you're just little animals
Animals.
Is that rude?
exploring the world.
Humblewood's cute, but it's a D&D setting. Where you can be a bunch of little animal moles.
What?
Bloomborough.
What?
The D&D setting where you can be a bunch of animals, is it Bloomborough?
No, Humblewood.
Humblewood.
Okay.
Because I know
There's also
Brute plays a.
Wanderhome, I think, is another one where there's like no combat at all in it, and it's literally just like,
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunately, I need to take my leave.
You have to go play Pathfinder.
Time.
I need to eat lunch and then go play Pathfinder, yes.
Well,
Let me know
thank,
how it is. I've been thinking about starting Pathfinder.
thank you for
Pathfinder
joining
2nd
us.
Edition is my new favorite system.
I have the entire 2nd edition, every book.
But yeah, I appreciate you for going, Doozy. We'll keep going here, and
Bye-bye.
bye.
bye.
Oh, they left before I could say something. Oh, there she.
Let's talk about OGLs, because there's been now 2 massive OGL scandals with D&D and now with Daggerheart. For those who don't know, OGL stands for Open Gaming License, which is sort of the contract but not contract that you sign for producing content for a system or playing that system online. It's extremely controversial in that, like, people don't like being limited to do the stuff they want to do. But it becomes but it becomes interesting. No, well, I'm just saying, like, it's interesting in the fact that, like, I think it's important to talk about because we are in obviously an increasingly online setting. People are going to play on virtual tabletops, or, you know, right? We'll get into talking about those in a second, but like Roll20 or Foundry and stuff like that. So, and people are going to stream it. They're going to make videos. They're going to want to make custom content for it. And it's interesting because, you know, for example, with D&D, it's pretty decent. They did want to change it at one point to where they were going to highly limit a lot of it, but they kind of were unable to in the end. Daggerheart has started with sort of going right out the bat with it, in that, like, there are a lot of rules you have to follow to be able to stream Daggerheart or make a video about Daggerheart or make content for Daggerheart. And it's interesting because I think a lot of people got upset with it in that, you know, it's coming from a company that was founded on, you know, content creation around TTRPGs. But also, I think there's the side of, like, how should these companies make profit? Should they make profit off their system? Like, how do creators make profit in that regard? Should it be decentralized? Should it be, you know, what is your guys' opinions on if someone creates a system, how should they profit? Should they profit? What should the system look like? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I kind of chatted a lot there. Don't all talk at once.
I understand rules are important for things. Because there are a lot of good rules. We can all agree to that. However, it's kind of the whole, if your rules start kind of...
Yeah, I feel like the rules are... obviously the rules are necessary because they're about to set up the basics of the world. But they're also... It's hard to...
I think if you think about it as like an author, like, they write the book, right? And they make profits by selling their book, but they don't make any profits off of, like, the fan fictions done of their book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there are always going to be, like, yes, like, there are established rules, but there's always going to be someone doing homebrew elements of those rules. There's always going to be someone who's like, this rule is stupid and it's not coming to my table. I think that's kind of where it's really hard to argue that they should always be making a profit from it. Like, it's like you're an author and you've created this world and you send it out into the world to be enjoyed. And if people do different things with it, you shouldn't necessarily get to profit off of those things that they do with it.
I agree.
I think writing a TTRPG system with the intent to profit off of it is absurd.
With the intent to specifically profit off of what others build from it.
Yeah, yes, sorry. To profit, what's the word? Exponentially
Mm-hmm.
off of the groundwork that you have laid. Like, obviously, you should profit off of the groundwork, but to expect to profit off of, like, fan-written expansions is a bit silly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
At
You know,
what
I
point?
feel like how you profit off of that is like, hey, we're running this system by this person. You should definitely go check it out. Like, where the problem comes in is like, once it's online, somebody's going to have free PDFs like out there
Mm-hmm.
that you could access. You know, so I get that frustration, but like, no one's getting rich off of writing a TTRPG like rule set.
I can. Well, I think I don't know a lot of the controversy. Man, work has taken me offline. um, but I can definitely see someone say you make a completely original TTRPG, right? It does, moderately well in the niche, right? I can see someone being upset if someone proceeded to make like a subset book and sell the subset book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see you
Because
being put
that's
back
not
in for that.
that's no longer that's no longer someone making content necessarily from what you made, right? And like promote like and inadvertently promoting it, right? Because obviously bigger they get, more people or more eyes on what you made, more eyes on what you made is more sales. But at what point, like, for every like I said, I don't really understand the situation because I just haven't seen it.
It's a whole
But
thing. I mean,
if it's a whole thing, that means there's like 18 layers, and I'd have to actually read into it.
well, but it is also, I think, just the concept that we're talking about as well is like, say D&D publishes an additional book, right? They're going to sell that book, which most of the time people aren't really buying the physical book nowadays with those sort of things, but they sometimes are.
Unless they're like a collector, but yeah.
Yeah, I think,
Trophy.
but I think it's interesting because I think the reason, and Wizards of the Coast just isn't planning to produce much of D&D anymore because they're not making an insane profit off of it. But I think they're looking at it wrong. In that, like,
They're not making a profit off of it because they're not doing anything with it.
well, no, they were, but they're like they're looking at it wrong in that they want to sell these books and they think the books is the way to do it. Versus, and they've built a virtual tabletop and then immediately shut it down for some fucking reason. Like, I think virtual tabletops. Well, but I understand then you have to worry about hosting servers and stuff like that. But like, virtual tabletops and online databases like D&D Beyond is the way for them to go instead of trying to leech off of homebrewed content, in my opinion.
100%.
Like, let people make their own thing with it, and you make a website, virtual tabletop, that allows people to play your game online. Because 9 times out of 10, these groups are going to be online nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why Roll20 is so cool, because you can play damn near anything on it.
And like, hell, if you don't want to pay for servers, fucking let someone host it.
Peer-to-peer.
Peer-to-peer, exactly. Like, there's ways around it. And I just don't think... I think what's happening is you have people who are in these positions who are stuck looking at it like old...
Purely monetarily.
Well, and also as like an older industry, too. People just want to play with their friends, right? If you encourage... And yes, monetize the way... And my way with it is like... you got to think about paying artists or whatever, right? Like that's another side of it. You got to pay the just creators and stuff like that. But I think like having full-time staff like they try to have for D&D, having like massive full-time staff, full-time artists and stuff like that, it's just not working. And I think they're just overthinking it to the point where it's just like, make something that's easy for people to play your game and that people enjoy playing, and people are going to play it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, but I can't remember. Did Hasbro buy all of WotC, or
Yeah.
are they just... Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, there's that culture shift as well within the company of Hasbro coming in, because I know there's a lot of issues. My roommate is actually a programmer for WotC, but they're on the Magic the Gathering side of things.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but they have gotten to like do some play testing for like they did some play testing for like D&D 1 like on the clock with like a group set up in WotC. So like they get to do some pretty cool things. But you know, I know that there's been a lot of culture shift with Hasbro, and a lot of the decisions that Hasbro are making is more of a money grab kind of a
Yeah,
situation.
and
And
it's
that
stupid.
is frustrating because this isn't supposed to be a money grab. It's supposed to be enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to make millions or billions off of this. You're going to entertain a community, and they're just, the reason they're getting rid of it is because they think no one wants to play D&D, and that's obviously not the case.
Yeah.
It's just stupid. Sorry.
I think it's more they don't think, they can't see how to make a profit off it anymore because the materials have been out there for so long, and there's so many aspects of homebrewing that people do now.
Yeah,
like,
well, and they're
we
still
can't-
focused
we
on
can't
the
monetize this.
They're still focused on that. Like I said, make a damn good TTR or VTT, make it cheap, make a good
Yeah.
database, or fuck it, just buy Roll20. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Roll20 makes bank because of it, because they have subscriptions and they have a good system, and they
Yeah.
sell content, and they sell whatever. Like,
It is also important to know, though, that you would still have to keep some elements of the free.
oh, for sure.
Because-
But what I'm saying is like, for people who want to do these massive games like myself, I pay for it because it,
Yeah.
you know, for different things. But also, like, one, you can encourage people to homebrew for your game by letting them sell on your marketplace, like Roll20 does. You know,
Yeah.
let people sell their books in your marketplace and take a fucking cut. Like, I don't know. You know, it sucks, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It makes me mad that they're just giving up with it, you know?
Well, and that's the problem when a company that is devoid, like separated from the actual people, the users of their product, and they're like, well, we can't make money with this, like, what the fuck, you know? And it's like, well, but if you had people who actually enjoy your product, like, that's one of the things about my roommate. They are huge Magic the fans, like Magic the Gathering fans. Like, they have you know, they have so much money in Magic cards in this house. And it's like they work for a company that produces something that they genuinely love, which means that they're putting more of themselves into the product that they're producing and the work that they're producing. And you know, I think that's the problem when these big companies come along and they just buy stuff and they're like, well, how do I make money with this? And it's like, well, for one, why don't you hire people who actually enjoy this thing? And then maybe they'll be able to tell you how to make money in the current market and how people are currently using it, you know?
You do have to be very careful about that, though. For instance, this I'm gonna use something from Overwatch, actually. The original Overwatch 1 team absolutely loved the game, loved everything about it. However, they were not good at both monetarily and gameplay wise. They were not good players. So while they loved this
fair.
IP, right, they were not good at the IP, right, which caused problems later down. And they were not good monetarily with the IP. So they lost a bunch of money, which then stopped them from bringing in new talent that would be able to help them, like make the game better. It also created problems within Blizzard.
Well, I mean, Blizzard's got a whole other thing where like they focus so heavily on monetization that makes the games less enjoyable.
100%.
Yeah, but
however, look at new Overwatch. The entire team both plays and enjoys the game to a pretty high level, right? Which helps with balancing, which helps with
sure, yeah.
It helps with balancing that keeps the common player happy and enjoying the game, but also your big names enjoying the game, playing the game. And then the new lead directive absolutely loves the game, right? This man is infatuated with it. He adores everything about Overwatch. So he's making sure every step taken is a good or better step to take. And it has actually let Overwatch 2 finally succeed. And this is coming from someone that hates that game. I cannot stand Overwatch anymore because they've just kind of... I don't agree with a lot of their monetary things, but at the end of the day, it's the skins. And when every hero is free to play and it's just skins, I can't complain. Because sure, it's annoying. And it's like, ooh, look at this fancy $100 thing. However, I'm not going to complain about it because it does not affect me gameplay-wise. It does not do anything to me in a game.
Bringing it back, let's talk about like what to you makes a good online tabletop?
Being able to share the books. Having some way to have your other players see the book if they need.
Yeah, the big thing is being able to, because it's exactly like you would do it at home, in that if one person has the book, you share it around the table. So that's feels like a requirement for online tabletop for me.
But how do you do that in a respectful way to the
Roll20
creators
does
of
it.
the book?
Yeah.
Roll20 does do a good job of it.
It gives you a limit on how many games you can share it with, but once you do, you can share it with it, and I think that's great because, like you said, you would share the book around. I think you also need to have good macros, good sort of automation for people who want it, and on the flip side, good sort of manual side of things too, if people want it. So like when we play D&D, a lot of us are just clicking the button, right? Because there's so many calculations, whatever. But on the flip side, when we play board games on this channel, or when we play offline and play on virtual what's it called? Fucking
Tabletop Sim?
Thank you. Tabletop Sim. We like to do the manual thing for it. We don't like the electronic button. You know what I mean? We have fun with it. So I think having both of those options, either having the manual, like roll the dice, move your pieces, or have a button that calculates stuff, I think that's great. I'm also a big fan of anything that makes things more immersive. One thing I don't like about Roll20 is their music options, sound effects and stuff. It's not great. It needs some work. I personally love World Anvil for databases. As a database, it's so great. And people use wikis and stuff like that, but I think World Anvil has added a lot of good excuse me. A lot of good
Oh no, they're blowing up.
Options. Sorry, I was eating so I don't pass out. A lot of good options for specific things for world building, like timelines or maps and clicking. You know what I mean? Things that wikis necessarily won't have, which I appreciate. But again, that comes down to designing the system to be also easy to use, and like if a player needs to play it on their phone, make your mobile version of it easy to use. You know what I mean? Like not bloated. Like Roll20, I think is very bloated.
I will say one downside of Roll20 is the maps are like the map is really hard to navigate.
Yes.
It's like, why can't I just click and drag the things, like, and using the slider bars, it's very hard to like, yeah, the map sometimes takes me out of it sometimes just because it's like, where the heck am I? Why is this thing? That person's on top of me.
I need to teach you some hotkeys, I think.
Yeah, that probably would help.
There's hotkeys
But
to like center on yourself, but like again, making those more visible too to players.
Yeah.
You know.
I really want to try and run. So I haven't done Shadowrun in a little bit due to a lot of my stuff that has a drought. But I really want to try and start it back up on tabletop sim, because it kind of adds that being around a table with all your homies, with all your friends.
Yeah, I've considered running stuff on
tactile.
tabletop sim, and there are good things that have done it. Go ahead.
But Shadowrun, like Uzi mentioned earlier, you roll 48 dice, and that's a headache.
I would love to run something more tactile, but because I'm streaming it, it comes down to an issue of how do I display it, and I would need like another player to be just a videographer. You know what I mean? And that's a whole other thing. But like, I've gotten used to Roll20 and us running it on Roll20, and maybe if we did another campaign in a few years or whatever, maybe I'd switch it up. But I think you need to make it. Also, one thing I didn't mention: let one person pay for everything. Like, don't make every person pay for every book. Like we talked about the books, but also like access. You know what I mean? Because it allows you to share your game with more people.
Earlier, I mentioned I had every Pathfinder 2e book. I have every single one of them up to a certain point. They were offered to me, is the wording I'll use.
I understand. But like, anyways, we'll move on from that. But yeah, I only have a few more questions left.
I can't believe you'd have questions.
Sorry.
What did you drop? What did you just do?
I dropped my plate. I'm sorry.
You're sorry.
What
what
if you were designing a system, a TTRPG system for 2025? What would be the most important aspects for you?
Fuck classes. I hate classes.
I mean, yes, in a way that'd be a good move. The problem is if you don't have something there, just everyone becomes good at everything.
Well, you'd kind of have to do it like Final Fantasy 14, where like once you're in combat or something, you can't change your class, but outside of combat you can, kind of thing. You know, like something like that, I imagine is more possible.
So Shadowrun, when you're making a character, there is like archetypes that you can kind of base yourself off of. And I don't want to go down the list because there's like 8 of them. But say Ori wants to do magic. if you were to do magic, you cannot do cybernetics because cybernetics limit how much magic you can use, and they prevent you from using magic at a certain amount because you lose like the essence of your body. You lose your connection to like the nature to the world,
yeah.
right? And then you have, it's called karma, and karma allows you to specifically level, like, increase your body, your intellect, your wisdom, right? So when I say like no classes, I don't like the idea of people having to pick between like, oh, I want to use this, like I really want to use magic, but like this sounds cool too, right? Like I want that freedom to use both, but you might have to limit how far you can go in one direction.
I do like how the Marvel Multiverse TTRPG has they don't have like classes or whatever, but they have like you choose your abilities, and then like the more you have in like I think if I'm thinking of the correct thing, the more you have in like a certain you become stronger in like psychic stuff, or like there's like different, it's a lot more versatile, and there's like a whole bunch of traits that you get to pick through, and you get to get like very specific with like what you want your character's superhero power to be and stuff like that, and I think that's pretty cool.
You just make a combination of Scarlet Witch and Psylocke every time.
No, I have a design. If we ever get to play it, I have a character I would want to make.
So it's just Psylocke. Got it.
No, it's not Psylocke. Although I have been reading a lot of Psylocke.
I need to get the mobile app. I just remembered. Sorry.
But yeah, anyways, yeah, I like that about that, like having that versatility. I understand that. I would also say I'm a big fan of things that are easy to start, but like you can get really deep into it if you want. Something that, and I think honestly, that Baldur's Gate has been really good in their adaptation of D&D.
Yes, that was very good,
and I do appreciate that. I
think the main thing that I would want if I were to create my own would be something approachable but widely customizable. Because the main thing that I find lacking in 5e is there just isn't that much you can do with it customizable wise, because of the way the rule set is built and the limited amount of classes that they have. Like one of my favorite and one of the first characters I played in Pathfinder was a Soul Knife kineticist. And I loved the feel of it, and just being able to form literally a fire whip and just smack people from 10 feet away and not literally catch them on fire, but make them feel like they were on fire was so much fun. And it's just something that isn't really possible with D&D as it stands.
Yeah, and that's why I try to let you guys have like the versatility to make stuff that you want to make. But I do like how different things, different games and stuff work with giving you that creativity, because that's the most important thing, is that you're having fun with it and you're doing, whatever with it. But yeah, I want to wrap up
real quick. Something that really turned me off of D&D was the wording on a lot of spells and abilities.
Mhm.
And going back to Baldur's Gate, it made me understand how a lot of things work better. Like, before I played Baldur's Gate, I couldn't tell you how a Hexblade Warlock would even begin to work. But now I would feel confident picking and playing a Hexblade Warlock in D&D, especially a tabletop.
Yeah, I think it's a good introduction and sort of how they adapted things to make it more easy and understandable. Okay, last thing we're talking about is like what's next for TTRPGs? What continues on from here?
Forever DMing.
Forever DM, a forever DM. I really want to play the Marvel one. I do want to run. I probably like Christmas time will probably run Sword Lesbians.
What on earth is sword lesbians you've mentioned? There's a lot. I just don't know.
I'll find it here. I'll find it. It's what's it called?
Thank you.
Thirsty sword lesbians.
Thank you. Thirsty Sword Lesbians. Here you go. I'll send it to you, Depp. They released a new one called what is the Advanced Lovers and Lesbians, which is a joke on advanced D&D. But yeah, let's see here. Yeah, so I'll send that to you, but I think I might run that in December because it is such a interesting and unique take on a TTRPG, and I think it'd be fun to play around with. Here, Depp, I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think I think it's interesting. Lena's in the other voice chat that is now. Shit, 1 second. I just realized it's. There we go. But yeah, so that's I think important is adapting to the times, making things accessible to everyone and enjoyable by everyone, and seeing where it goes.
I was going to say something really stupid.
All right,
And it was when do we get the the thirsty shield or gaze?
I respect it. Well, that was sort of
every
what we.
sword lesbian needs a shield gate.
I think that was good. I think we talked.
Thirsty. Hang on, I'm thinking.
Oh no!
Thirsty glaive gaze.
I'm gonna just continue my ending, which is thank you
Yeah,
everyone for being here. I appreciate it. I'm starting to get a little out of it, so I think that's where I was struggling there at the end. But it is TTRPGs are interesting in that like
Gaze.
there is a very important thing you should notice if you haven't, in that a lot of queer people play TTRPGs because it's a way for us to express ourselves how we'd like. And if you're a developer of any sorts trying to make a TTRPG, keeping that in mind is important. But yeah, we are gonna jump over to Blood on the Clock Tower. I'm gonna probably be on the hour. I gotta get everything set up, so give me a little bit. Thank you guys for joining me.
Bullied into that too.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
sorry
we'll be
for
back
everyone
in probably on the top of the hour. BRB.
I feel absolutely.